Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm your friendly neighborhood PM here to give you your top 3 market points of the week. Now, it's been a choppy week so far. We've had some ups, we've had some downs, but we are on the track to finish green on the week. So we're going to dive right into your top 3 points. It's going to be 2 earnings reports and 1 economic data point. So let's start right away at point number 3, and that is Pepsi releasing their quarterly earnings. Now, Pepsi's earnings were a little bit mixed. They did beat on EPS and had some solid growth internationally, but we have started to see that the U.S. consumer has been impacted by inflation, and that's kind of started to peel back on some of their volumes on their, so to speak, salty snacks, and causing some shoppers to go from their premier brands like Frito-Lay and Quaker and go to more store-owned brands. And like we said, that was reflected in some of their volumes that they released on their report. At number 2, it's JP Morgan releasing their earnings this morning. Now, JP Morgan had a very solid report for this recent quarter. They had record high net interest income. In addition to that, investment banking revenues skyrocketed by 50%, as well as trading revenues also ticked up by 21%. Now, this led to the best quarterly profit in U.S. banking history. So JP Morgan's had a very solid quarter so far, and they did maintain their guidance going forward on net interest income as well for the rest of the year. Now, CEO Jamie Dimon did come out and illustrate just how much progress has been made for inflation so far, but did want to highlight some of the ongoing headwinds that inflation still faces going forward. So he said not to expect, or don't be surprised that inflation and interest rates still stay a little bit sticky throughout the year, but that does parlay us very well into our final and number 1 point, and that is CPI data coming out for the month of June. Now, we saw CPI cool pretty much across the board. It was exactly the kind of print that the Fed wanted to see. We saw both core and headline come down, led a lot by lower energy prices used in new car sales coming down, as well as finally seeing some moderation on shelter rents, owner equivalent rents coming down a little bit. Now, shelter makes up a vast majority of inflationary data, especially on core. So seeing any kind of moderation on that is a very welcome sign. It's to the point now where the market is starting to price in the first rate cut in September now. It's only a 25 basis point cut, but that does also open the gate for potentially multiple cuts this year. So it'll be interesting to see. There's still a lot of data between now and that September meeting where the Fed is going to make that decision. We've got 2 more inflation reports as well as a couple jobs reports. So only time will tell, but we'll keep you updated here as always. Now that does it for our top 3 points this week. What are we looking to for next week? Well, next week, it's going to be probably more about earnings. Like we mentioned for JP Morgan and Pepsi, this is just kind of the first batch. Next week, we're going to get really into it for Q2 earnings results as financials really lead the way. We're going to see names like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley reporting next week. So we'll keep you posted on how those ones go as always. Now that pretty much does it for this week's video. As always, if you have additional questions, please reach out to your financial advisor or dig into the written week in review. But as always, go out and enjoy your weekend, and we will see you at the same time next week. Thanks again. Bye.